Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. We're here to bring you some live coverage of two stories today. The DOJ, including the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the DOJ is meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell today. Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted sex trafficker, who was a partner and an accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein. They are meeting with her today. And also, in about a half an hour, President Trump will be visiting the Federal Reserve amidst speculation the last few weeks that he could fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. So he's going to be visiting the Fed today. And I believe we're supposed to have some live coverage of that. That's my understanding. So I'm planning on giving you some live coverage. We're going to have updates for you. We're going to be taking your comments and questions on the air and bringing you the latest developments about what is happening. You can reach me at @Lookner on X. And let's see here. I want to thank our moderators as well. Thanks to our moderators, Roberts Mayqueen and Ruth over there on YouTube, Beth Mythical. Thanks so much for moderating there. Thank you to our Twitch moderators. We have Big Ball of Yarn, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Matthew, Kohai 3. Thanks so much. Our Facebook moderators. Shannon Davis Hughes is moderating over there. Kay Lowry Body. Margaret Riley, thank you. And Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X. And shout out to Danielle Bryan, our new member, 4955-8201. And Chris Lee UK, our member. Thanks for your support. All right, so let's start by talking about what's going on with this meeting. Now, I don't even know what's going on in this meeting. I don't even know what's happening in this meeting. There's some differing views on what's going on in this meeting. But, so remember, Jeffrey Epstein died in prison in 2019 after he was arrested and faced federal sex trafficking charges. He was facing sex crimes involving underage women. And his longtime partner and associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was actually arrested and convicted and is serving 20 years on sex trafficking and other charges related to her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein's activities. So today, the Justice Department is meeting with her. You can see here, U.S. Justice Department official meets with Epstein associate Maxwell, ABC says. And you might say, well, why are they meeting with her? So there's differing views on this, why they're meeting with her. But remember that the Trump administration has been receiving a bunch of requests from the public to release the Epstein files, release the government the information that the government has, the DOJ and the FBI, about Jeffrey Epstein through their investigation of him and all the information they have. Back on, I think it was July 7th, the DOJ and the FBI came out with this statement that said, we're not releasing any more information about Jeffrey Epstein, which got a bunch of people angry. No, there are no cameras. There are no cameras of the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting. I don't even know if we're going to get a statement about the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting. I'm interested to see. After it's over, is the government going to say something about it? I don't know. Maybe we'll hear something official. Anyways, let me give you a little background here. FDP says Ghislaine is not reliable at all. Well, there's that other question of whether anything she would say would be reliable. Okay, so here's a little Reuters background on this. Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche met with accused sex trafficker Jeffrey, well, he's accused. He actually was convicted of, well, he was accused, and then before his trial, he took his own life in prison. He was convicted, I believe, on a prostitution charge, or a couple of prostitution charges back in the early 2000s. Anyways, Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche met with the longtime associate of accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, and his longtime associate is Ghislaine Maxwell. And they met, and apparently they are meeting. I haven't heard that the meeting is over yet. They are meeting at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Tallahassee, Florida. ABC News reported today. Images captured by ABC News showed Todd Blanche and his entourage, including Acting Associate Deputy Attorney General Diego Pestana, entering the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is located in a federal courthouse. The meeting was widely anticipated after Todd Blanche announced earlier in the week he had reached out to Maxwell's lawyers to see if she might have information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims. At the time, Blanche said he anticipated meeting with her in the coming days. Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence at a federal prison in Tallahassee after a jury convicted her of sex trafficking in 2021. She is appealing her sentence. Her attorney did not respond to a request for comment on Thursday. And just some background here from Reuters. President Trump and his administration have been facing mounting pressure from Trump supporters and others to release additional information about the Justice Department's investigation into Epstein, who killed himself in 2019 in a jail cell while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Although Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, earlier this year promised to release additional materials related to possible Epstein clients, the department reversed course this month and issued a memo concluding there was no basis to continue investigating and there was no evidence of a client list or blackmail. And they said they weren't going to release any more information. Since then, President Trump told the Attorney General to seek permission to unseal grand jury transcripts from prior investigations into Epstein and Maxwell. Yesterday, by the way, a U.S. district judge denied one of those requests, finding it did not fall into any of the exceptions to rules requiring grand jury material to be kept secret. Also, we can talk about this. At the end of the article, it says Trump's name, along with many other high-profile individuals, appeared multiple times on flight logs in Epstein's private plane in the 1990s. Oh, I thought I was going to talk about something else. The Justice Department released some of those records that contained Trump's name earlier in the year. Also, the Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that the Justice, was it the Justice Department? Let me get you the exact report. And I think we should just clarify this. The Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that Pam Bondi, I believe, told President Trump that his name was in the Epstein files. But just to be clear, just because your name is in some part of the documents that the Justice Department has about their investigation into Epstein does not mean that your name is in there in the sense of that does not mean you committed a crime with Epstein. It doesn't even mean that anybody's accusing you in the files of committing a crime with Epstein. Your name could be in those files for all kinds of reasons. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Let me just real quick here. Yeah, real quick. Trump was told he's in Epstein files, Wall Street Journal reports. Attorney General Pam Bondi told President Trump in May his name appeared in investigative files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday. But again, that doesn't mean that he is accused of doing any wrongdoing with Epstein. And even the Wall Street Journal themselves said in this story, the Wall Street Journal said that, where is it here? Being mentioned in the Justice Department records about Jeffrey Epstein is not a sign of wrongdoing in itself. That's what the Wall Street Journal said. Okay, anyway, so we can talk about that in a little bit. But I want to get some of your comments on meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, if you don't know the backstory of all this, she for years was the closest associate of Jeffrey Epstein, and numerous women accused her of facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's scheme to recruit underage girls to commit sexual acts with Epstein. And some, I believe, of the women accuse her and Epstein of being involved in a scheme to actually have these underage girls commit sexual acts with other people that Epstein knew. Basically give them to other people. So, and again, she was convicted of sex trafficking and other crimes. And she is serving 20 years in prison. Our viewer Kaimo thinks Trump will pardon her. There has been some speculation floating around about whether she ultimately could be pardoned by President Trump, who does have the power to pardon her because she was convicted of federal crimes. I don't know, what would lead to that. I have not heard any reporting that that's imminent. I guess one scenario I heard floated as if you're of this mindset that you think Trump would pardon her, well, I guess the idea is maybe you'd think that she would give some information that Trump could then release. And then in exchange for that, he would pardon her. Again, I have heard no reporting that a pardon is imminent. Trump does have the power to pardon her. Maybe we'll do a poll about it at some point. Certified Garbage thinks Trump will never pardon her. No way. A's Diba says, if Trump were to pardon her, that would make him look so guilty. Sleuthy TV says, no way he would do that. So there's all these different theories as to why are they meeting with her? Hey, let me show you what Todd Blanche posted about this. This was Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General. This is what he said a couple days ago. He said, "Justice demands courage. For the first time, the Department of Justice is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, 'What do you know?' At Attorney General Bondi's direction, I have contacted her counsel. I intend to meet with her soon. That is happening today. No one is above the law and no lead is off limits." She did not testify in her trial, from what I understand. Waltham Mass says, shouldn't we have asked her that already? Tori Reynolds, our viewer, says, some people say he will promise her a pardon in exchange for her staying silent or saying what narrative they want but want from her, but wait until the end of his term to put it into effect. That's what our viewer Tori Reynolds said. Thanks, Eric Bush. Eric Bush says they will use this as a reason to oust Trump, letting Vance take the reins. Thanks, Nito God, who thinks evidence of wrongdoing or not, Trump being named in those files is eternal damnation. And all the comments dismissing the files will become pressure point. That's what Nito God says. Some think that this meeting, some think that a significant reason for this meeting being done is because the Trump administration is feeling pressure to look like it's doing something to get Epstein information out, but they have not, again, released these files and said they're not going to release any more files. That's what the Justice Department and the FBI said on July 7th. So is it an attempt to satisfy people who say you're not doing enough to get Epstein-related info out to the public? I need to keep an eye, by the way, we're going to talk more about this. In about 15 minutes, Trump is supposed to visit the Fed. And we're supposed to have live coverage of Trump visiting the Fed. So we got to talk about that a little bit before that happens. Because, again, we're supposed to have live coverage in about 15 minutes. Thank you, Mitchell Pilot, who thinks the Obama administration Russia scandal will be a totally bigger story once mainstream media gets their head out of their butts. Thanks also Sevenfold, who thinks it's not what you know, but what you can prove in a corrupt court of injustice. So we're going to have more to talk about regarding that meeting, and we'll see what we hear about it. I haven't heard any updates about the content of the meeting today, but I'll be interested to see if we hear something about this. And, oh, by the way, a little bit of news here. Pam Bondi just announced that the Department of Justice is suing New York City and Mayor Eric Adams for continuing to obstruct law enforcement with sanctuary city policies. If New York's leaders won't step up to protect their citizens, we will. Now, if I remember right, the Justice Department dropped charges against Eric Adams, and one of the reasons they cited is that dropping charges against him would allow him to focus on helping them with immigration enforcement related issues. So it's interesting to see this. Sounds like they think Eric Adams is not helping them enough. This is a different story. I don't want to get all digressed on this now. You know if digressed is a word. I don't want to digress on this now. But I did want to mention that happened too. All right, but we got to talk about the Fed thing. The Fed thing's coming up. The Fed thing is coming up live, so we need to talk about it. Hey, thanks so much to CJ Pat. That's very kind of you, CJ. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, Slim Fozzie. Slim Fozzie, who subscribed, says, wonder if Ghislaine will actually make it long enough to testify. Thanks to FLP5S on Twitch for your support. Chief H like Moose says, how much longer until the Trump visit? The Trump visit is supposed to be in 13 minutes. It's supposed to be at 4 ET, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 13 minutes till the Trump visit to the Fed. Floyd DeVivno says Trump has no authority to fire Powell. Well, that's a debated question. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. Hold on. We'll talk about it right now. We're going to talk about it right now. Trump visits the Federal Reserve in escalation of federal campaign, an escalation of pressure campaign. This is happening shortly. We're supposed to have live footage. President Trump, for months and months, has been complaining about Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, and saying he's not lowering interest rates enough, and saying he's really bad at what he does, and calls him stupid, and there's been speculation that he could fire him, but it's unclear whether he actually has the power to fire him. But now there's this talk that maybe as an excuse to fire him, President Trump could try to claim that Jerome Powell is mismanaging this building renovation that's being done at the Fed that's been going on for years. I know the story's getting complex, so let's talk about this for a second, because we're going to have some live footage of this, I believe, shortly. Let's talk about it. Thank you, by the way, to the Gribblinator and also user SN2UH3FI6J, who says you can tell a man's vices by his friends, his virtues by his enemies. User also says Trump needed 15 years to realize Epstein was a pedophile. Seriously? All right, we're going to get back to the Epstein stuff. Let's talk about the Fed. Washington Post. President Trump will visit the Federal Reserve today in about 10 minutes, joining a previously scheduled tour for White House officials of an extensive construction site. The White House's attention to the $2.5 billion renovation of two historic buildings designated as the Federal Reserve's headquarters comes at a time when Trump has expressed broader frustration with interest rates and repeatedly criticized Fed Chair Jerome Powell for not immediately slashing interest rates. Despite the pressure, the Fed is expected to hold interest rates steady at its scheduling policy meeting next week. Top Fed officials are already gravitating toward more rate cuts, possibly as soon as September, after pausing to assess how Trump's trade and other policies weigh on the economy. The Fed operates independently from the White House. Much like Supreme Court nominees, once confirmed, the president does not have direct sway over Fed officials who independently decide whether to help stimulate the economy by lowering interest rates or tap the brakes if the economy is heating up too quickly, which could, say, increase inflation. Trump's visit will mark the first time in nearly 20 years a president has visited the Fed. The last time was when President George W. Bush attended the swearing-in of Ben Bernanke, a former advisor, as the Fed chair. White House officials have signaled on a near-daily basis their displeasure with Powell, but have also suggested they have no plans to take the unprecedented step of seeking to fire Powell. Still, Fed watchers see the criticism over the extensive renovations as a move to lay the groundwork for a potential for-cause removal by Trump. Asked by a reporter earlier this month if the high price tag of Fed renovations could be grounds for removal, Trump said, "I think it sort of is." The following day, Trump told reporters he wasn't planning to dismiss Powell unless he has to leave for fraud. This week, Trump has sharpened his criticism of Powell and the renovations to the Federal Reserve building. Trump said on Tuesday, "And Powell is building a building $2.7 billion with $900 million overrun. This guy is building this building that's severely overrun. And what does he need a building for? Why does he need a space for more people?" The Fed's building project isn't new, and the cost overruns have been a problem for years, says the Washington Post. In part, the result of expansive work underground in an area along the National Mall that used to be a swamp. Other factors inflated the costs, the Fed said, such as pandemic-era inflation for building materials and more mundane aspects of the project, such as asbestos removal. In a 3-page letter to White House Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought, Powell said last week the project was large in scope because it involves the renovation of 2 historic buildings that were first constructed in the 1930s and hadn't seen a comprehensive renovation since they were first constructed. All right, so President Trump is supposed to, in just a few minutes, be visiting the Fed. I'm going to take some comments from you guys on this, but I want to keep an eye out for the video. It is 3:52 Eastern Time. I believe the video is supposed to start around 4 Eastern Time. So I am keeping my eye on it here. And hang on a moment here. We're supposed to have live coverage of President Trump visiting the Federal Reserve. All right, let me take some comments from you guys on this. Our viewer BX Clint says, seems like the restoration of 2 historic buildings and being government would be quite expensive. Shell Rowland says, bet Trump dreading questions. Will Trump take questions during this visit? Maybe he'll do an impromptu press conference. Maybe he'll be asked about Ghislaine Maxwell meeting with the DOJ today. Maybe he'll have something to say about that. Highline Guitarist thinks the meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell is likely to provide context to the names that appear in the files. Thanks, by the way, to the Ringa X for being a member. Thanks, NVix Media, who thinks already preparing for President Vance. Thanks, Rod Remex, who thinks Maxwell gets paid to stay quiet. Bargiar, thank you, says, Associate, look at Maxwell's dad's bio. She was in charge. Thank you, Wicked Blissy, for being a member as well. So again, in just minutes, we're supposed to have some live video of Trump visiting the Fed. So, I mean, I can't speak for Trump, but him actually visiting the Fed is seen by many as this kind of implied pressure being put on Jerome Powell. You can see the headline right here. Trump visits the Federal Reserve in escalation of pressure campaign. Let me show you something else about this. Trump to visit Fed as White House ramps up pressure on Powell, says Reuters. President Trump will visit the Federal Reserve's headquarters in Washington today in just a few minutes as tensions escalate between the administration and the independent overseer of the nation's monetary policy. The White House announced the visit late yesterday. Just last night. Oh, sorry. I usually have my ringer off when I am on the air, but I forgot to put it off this time. I just put it off. The White House announced this visit just last night. Trump has repeatedly demanded that Fed Chair Jerome Powell slash U.S. interest rates and has frequently raised the possibility of firing him, though the president has said he does not intend to do so. On Tuesday, Trump called the Fed chief a numbskull, just so you know. Okay. All right. It is now 3:56, so I am on the lookout for video. Maybe this visit will start late. Solid Pixel, our viewer, says inflation is so low, interest rates should be lowered. Reuters says the rare presidential visit to the Fed is happening less than a week before the central bank's 19 policymakers gather for a two-day rate-setting meeting. They are widely expected to leave the Fed's benchmark interest rate in the 4.25 to 4.5% range, where it has been since December, as they wait to see how the economy performs in the face of the administration's tariffs and other economic policies. The White House did not say if Trump will be meeting with Powell today. Powell typically spends Thursday afternoon before a rate-setting meeting doing back-to-back calls with Fed bank presidents as part of his preparations for the session. Powell, who was elevated by Trump to the top Fed job in 2018 and then reappointed by former President Biden 4 years later, last met with Trump in March when the Republican president summoned him to the White House to press him to lower rates. Oh, also, the visit on Thursday is also taking place as Trump battles to deflect attention from a political crisis over his administration's refusal to release files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, reversing a campaign promise. That's what Reuters says. White House officials have ramped up Trump's pressure campaign on Powell in recent weeks, accusing the Fed of mismanaging the renovation of two historic buildings in Washington and suggesting poor oversight and potential fraud. All right, we're waiting for the video of this. It is now 3:59. Supposedly this visit is happening at 4, but for all I know, it'll start late. So I am keeping my eye out for the video. As soon as I have any video of this, I will show it to you. Mike Faubush says anticipation. Some people are mentioning a Starlink outage. Maybe we can check on that after this meeting. Sarah R. thinks Ghislaine Maxwell will exonerate Trump in exchange for a presidential pardon. She's the only winner here. That's what Sarah says. Owl Hippie says, I'll be very surprised if this meeting starts on time. I don't even know that President Trump has left the White House yet, because I'm looking at another feed that's supposed to show him leaving the White House, and I don't know that he's even... Oh, I might even have footage of it. Wait. Oh no, there's supposed to be video. There's supposed to be like a let me just pull this up here. I might be able to show you footage of him leaving the White House when that gets posted. Let me just get this here ready. Let me check. I got to check on the reporting on my end and see what I see about this. Oh, hold on a second. I am seeing reporting on this. Unclear. No, I'm not. Trump said 12 minutes ago he's getting ready to head over to the Fed. Look, I'll show you. He posted it on Truth Social. Right here. Actually 20 minutes ago, getting ready to head over to the Fed to look at their now $3.1 billion plus construction project. Also present will be Fed Chair Jerome Powell, Senator Tim Scott, Senator Tom Tillis, OMB Director Russ Vought, Chairman of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac Bill Pult, my appointees to the National Capital Planning Commission James Blair and Will Scharf, and various other construction professionals. So he did say he was heading over there. I don't have any video of it yet. I'm waiting. Nope, no video yet. So give me a moment as I just keep an eye on everything here. Fox says it's happening soon. Fox News says it is happening soon. So what should I say? Any moment? Trump visits Fed. Oh, I got video. I have video. Breaking news. I have video. Hold on. I have a video for you. Give me a moment. Look at this. Look at this. There's video from the Fed. I guess this is from the Fed. Look, it's video. This is the Fed. I guess they're doing construction there. We got a live shot from the Fed. Look at this. Wow. Hang on a moment here. By the way, thank you to Crazy Yoda. Crazy Yoda thinks there is no way those against Trump would not have released any files, pics, you name it, in 2016, 2020, 2025. He says, however, release all the files. Thank you, Crazy Yoda, for your support. That's very nice of you. Thanks, Rod Remix. Again, I appreciate it, Rod Remix. As we wait for President Trump to show up at the Fed, let me thank our moderators again. Janet B., Ruth, Beth Mythical. Look at this video. Wow. Wow. Also, Big Ball of Yarn Idaho Star on Twitch. I got that fire. Mark HNC, Matthew Kohai, thank you. Matthew Kohai 3, thanks for modding there. Linda Belk, K. Lowry Body. Margaret Riley. Oh, Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X, K. Lowry Body, Shannon Davis Hughes, Margaret Riley on Facebook. Thank you. Look at this video at the Federal Reserve. I guess any moment now, Trump's going to walk in. Oh, I have another video of it too. I have a second video. Let me just get this organized too. Okay. I got two videos. So we'll just keep an eye out. See which one we like better. Oh, I see Secret Service, I think. Look at this. They're coming in. Wow. Look at all the hullabaloo. There he is. He has a hard hat on. President Trump has a hard hat. There's Tim Scott. Isn't he walking with Jerome Powell? I believe that's Jerome Powell with him, but I might be wrong. Jerome Powell wearing a hard hat.
Well, thank you very much. We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening. You know, it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed. One of the reasons why we wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. We wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
Jerome Powell shaking his head.
It just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
That's Fed Chair Powell right there, shaking his head. They're arguing about this.
3.1, 3.2.
This came from us.
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
That's our entire capital plan.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building,
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished
Wow.
Martin 5 years ago.
It's getting
Part
spicy.
of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, does the issue give you any? As a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, gives you cause to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? The country is doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. That way they have a little bit lower tariff. And they also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility. And we get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs, and they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country. So it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it anything you want, but it's a total of $550 billion. So nobody thought any of that was possible, and it's wonderful. And we're doing pretty well with the European Union, likewise. And we have some others. They're all really big, and our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot. But we have a country that's thriving. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And we'll get this one finished.
Mr. President, do you
Thank
think
you.
that Jerome Powell's a numbskull?
Somebody just asked, do you think that he's a numbskull, or did you say he was a numbskull, which he said on Tuesday? All right, so let's keep watching this. We gotta watch that again. We're gonna have to. All right, we're gonna have to watch that again. There's supposed to be more video. We're supposed to get more video, okay? But we're gonna have to watch that again. That was really something. President Trump and Jerome Powell arguing over how much it was costing to do the renovations there at the Fed. But again, we're supposed to be getting more video because the White House is supposed to have video, and they haven't actually started their video. Now, I might be wrong, but the White House has a live stream up. We're going to have to watch that again. Should we watch that again? Let's watch that again while we're waiting for the White House video, which is supposedly coming. Maybe they're not. It's weird. The White House has a live stream going, but they didn't show anything. Maybe he'll say something after, but I want to show you that again. That was the Reuters feed. Oh, the Reuters says further live coverage is expected. See? All right, let me just clip what we have. Let me do that. And then I'm going to, while we're waiting for the rest, I'm going to show you that. But that was really something. I got to see it again. Thank you so much, by the way. As we wait, I'm going to show you this in a second. Rod Remix, Katachuman, Aussie Metal Mate. Thank you. Dennis Michael Kennedy. Ariane 3407, thanks for the gift memberships. And thank you to everybody for tuning in as we cover this. Thanks Tanner Toxicity and Turned Off as well. And Sevenfold 777. All right, we're waiting for the new video, but I'm going to show you what we just saw. It was really something. Okay, let's see here. Do I have it here yet? Did it download yet? I have to download it here. Get rid of this stuff. Too much on my desktop right now. Again, there's supposed to be more live video coming up. I guess they're walking around right now. All right, let me pull this up for you. Here we go. We're going to watch this again. I did not expect to see them arguing like that. Okay, this is all right. This is going to be from earlier. This is going to be what we just saw. And I'm going to play it again for you. I'll say moments ago, Federal Reserve, Washington, D.C. Okay, let's check this out again.
I'm locked up now.
Oh, wait, hold on, wait, we have live video. We have live video. Hold on, live video.
These guys don't want you to, so. Oh, yeah.
This is live video. That's live. That is live. What's happening here? What's going on?
Good? All right. Perfect.
Oh, there's a podium outside. We're out. Look at it's a construction site. It's live. I guess we're going to see them again in a second. Look at this. It's the Fed. We will replay the other thing shortly. Look at we got a hard hat. We got some big equipment there. Hey, thanks to Q Finch for your support. Thank you, Q Finch. Thank you to Ronald Kane for the memberships. Thank you to Rod Remex. Oh my gosh, we got the presidential seal at the construction site. Hate Luzin says no movement on site. Well, somebody will walk in soon. Ava Maori thinks Trump is going to fire Powell, and he should. We're going to show you their first interaction at the meeting, which was quite something, shortly. But I don't want to get in the way of the live. Let me also check for updates here.
Wait.
What's happening? What's happening? I see people. I see people.
We'll just have to tell Sid.
Yeah.
MAGA man thinks Powell will be fired live? Pam BK says absolutely not. Powell should not be fired.
I'm trying. I'm phoning up the fire right now.
Powell had a hard hat on. Let me, while we're waiting, I'll give you a little update. So AP says President Trump is visiting the Federal Reserve headquarters today, a week after indicating that Fed Chair Jerome Powell's handling of an extensive renovation project on 2 Fed buildings could be grounds for firing. So some think that the Trump administration is trying to set up this whole controversy about the renovations as an excuse to fire him, because the theory goes he's not allowed legally to just fire him without cause. So some think this is just being ginned up as an excuse to fire him. I'll leave it to you to decide what you think about that. AP says Trump and his allies say the $2.5 billion renovation reflects an institution run amok. Trump has criticized and threatened to fire Powell for months because the Fed chair has kept the short-term interest rate that the Fed controls at 4.3% this year after cutting it 3 times last year. Powell says the Fed wants to see how the economy responds to Trump's sweeping tariffs on imports, which Powell says could push up inflation. If Trump were to undermine the Fed's independence, says AP, it could reduce the Fed's ability to calm financial markets and stabilize the U.S. economy. So,
travel pool, on the conclusion of the remarks, the travel pool, we're going to lift up this side and we're going to exit that way. But please watch your step.
Sounds like it might be happening soon. Lucy says fed up.
To the podium here. Once he concludes, he'll exit that way, and then travel pool will exit this way.
Now maybe he'll take more questions here. He just appeared with Powell which we'll show you again soon. But maybe he'll take a bunch, and he only took a couple questions then. Maybe he'll take questions here. As I said, maybe he'll get asked about Ghislaine Maxwell, the Jeffrey Epstein associate and partner and convicted sex trafficker, is meeting with the Department of Justice today, specifically with the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. So, and others, I believe. So, will Trump be asked about the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting? Our viewer, excuse me, Lou Viz says if Powell gets smacked like that again, he may raise rates. He may raise rates. I think that's what Lou said. Yes. Yes, this is where Trump's going to be. Look, there's a president podium right there. There's the president's podium. So at some point he's going to walk in. While we're waiting for this, do you want me to replay the thing from before? I could do that. People are saying yes. All right, so let me pull up the clip from before. Give me a moment. One moment. I see maybe Secret Service. Hang on a moment. I see what looks like Secret Service, so I want to wait. What in the world? Yeah, it looks like they're getting ready. So let's hang on a second. Hey, thanks Allison Hargroves for the gift memberships. Babinski, Utah says the markets are closed, right? If the president did fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve, I wonder how the stock market would react. It would be an enormous deal. It would be a huge, huge deal. Many experts think it would be a very negative reaction because they would think that the independence of the Fed had been compromised. Oh, look, now we're looking at that. Now we're looking at that angle. Fiji Water, Tokyo Sun, thinks Trump's smack of Powell was physical abuse. Yeah, let's stay with the live shot for a second. We'll have time to replay the previous thing. Austin Batman says more exciting construction action. I think it's Secret Service walking up and down. Look at all the security. Oh, is he coming this way? Is he coming out now? Guys, look. He might be walking out now. I think I see people coming. I think we just saw Russell Vought, the OMB director. Wow. Is that Stephen Chung, White House spokesperson, I believe? Maybe? Oh, now what's happening? Okay. Looks like this is about to start. Thanks, Cover Me in Reverb. We're going to show the interaction between Trump and Powell before. We will be replaying that for you.
Sorry.
After these comments. Chuck House thinks Trump smoked him. It's not every day we see President Trump speaking at a construction site. Mike Faubush thinks the construction site is an odd scene for a speech. Genius Level says, where is OSHA? No hard hats? Oh, hold on. More people. More people. Some security. Looks like Secret Service. Remember, this visit by Trump, I believe others were supposed to visit. Trump visit just got announced last night. Last night it was announced last night that Trump was going to visit today. So I don't believe Trump had been scheduled to visit until yesterday. Thank you, Mitchell Pilots, who says, I don't like the PDA displays of arguing in public. Mosh Miri thinks we saw the nuclear football. The big suitcase the guy was carrying, the big bag. Hey, it's Tim Scott. It's Senator Tim Scott. Trump must be coming now. All right, is Trump going to come down the stairs right now? This is quite something. I see people coming. Okay, are we going to see Powell and Trump with hard hats on? Let's see. See somebody up there. Here we go. Here we
Thank
go.
you very much, everybody, and it feels very good, actually,
Hold
to
on.
be back on a construction site.
Hold
you know.
on.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, and it feels very good, actually, to be back on a construction site. You know, if you remember, not so long ago, we rebuilt the old post office into the Trump Hotel, and we sold it to Waldorf Astoria, and it was a great success, and we had great luck with the building. We did a good job. We built it quickly and relatively inexpensively for about $200 million, and that was a big hotel, big project. But we looked around, and Tim Scott's here someplace. Tim, come on up. You saw what we saw, and the big thing is to get it done. They have to get it done. They have to get it finished. And very importantly, we have to get interest rates lowered in our country. Our country is the hottest in the world right now, but the one section, people are pretty much unable to buy housing because the interest rates are too high. We have no inflation. We have a lot of cash coming in. The tariffs have been unbelievable. Now, people that didn't even believe in tariffs are saying, what a great move that was. We have hundreds of billions of dollars coming in. Japan, just on one deal, is paying us $550 billion. And they opened up their economy. It's incredible, the deal. And they're happy, we're happy, everybody's happy. But we should have the lowest interest rate of any country, and we don't. We should have. Every point is worth $365 billion. So we want to get the rates down, but we also want to get the Fed building finished. So I met with the contractors, we toured it with the chairman, and we had a very good tour, and we'll talk to you about it sometime, but Tim and I, we sort of understand what happened.
Too expensive. Bottom line is this, that Americans deserve to become first-time home buyers. President Trump has created the best economy in the world. The one thing that would make it better is lower interest rates. Full employment is even more possible. Wages rise faster as interest rates come down when your employment is at 4.1% because of your leadership. We have revenues coming in at record-breaking, maybe last month even more revenue coming in than bills going out, which is remarkable.
They found $26 billion. They said, where did that come from? Nobody, I think that's been many decades since that happened.
I can't remember that.
They found $26 billion last month, and they said, where did that come from? I said, why don't you try the tariff? Said it was true. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and our country is doing great, and we have no inflation, and the numbers, the job, everything is good. The one thing we have to do is get housing prices down and the interest rates down so people can buy the house, because they're all making money, but they can't get the interest rate down. We have to.
Amen.
All right. And he's been my friend for a long
You've been
time.
on a number of construction sites. Did you see mismanagement going on or funds that aren't?
Well, I see a very luxurious situation taking place. Let's put it that way. And I was given a very nice tour by the head of construction. And, you know, look, if you look over here, they're trying to open up the basement. When you open up a basement, first of all, it's the worst space. Always a basement is the worst space in a building. And it's also the most expensive space to build. And especially here because you have a water line. You know, they're going down into the water, so they have to build what's called a reverse bathtub. The water has to be kept out. It's very expensive construction. So it would have been good if they didn't build it. Would have been good if they didn't do certain other things. If you look at the kind of protection in the hall, have you been able to get in the hall? You saw the protection of plywood. I mean, that was a lot of money just to protect it for a period of time. I would have done it very gingerly and easily and not have to spend, you know, millions of dollars on protection. And there are things that could have been different. Look, there's always Monday morning quarterbacks. I don't want to be that. I want to help them get it finished. It's been going on for years, and I want to help them get it finished. And what we really want to do, and I think I can speak for Tim, and I think I can speak for the entire Senate, we can speak for everybody, frankly, is we want to see interest rates come down. Our country is booming, and the interest rates is a final little notch. And if you look at Europe, they've lowered 11 times in a short period of time. We've lowered 0. And, you know, they are competition, although we're in the process of probably making a very good deal with them, too. They want to make a deal very badly. So we're making a deal. We just completed our deal with Indonesia. We just completed our deal with the Philippines. We're making unbelievable deals, and The money is pouring in. We want to get interest rates down.
But on interest rates, at some point, does the level of interest rates now slow economic growth?
Yeah, it never helps it if it's high. Never helps it. Well, it's already as good as we're doing. Think of how well we'd be doing. We'd be like a rocket ship. As good as we're doing, we'd do better if we had lower interest rates. And we should. We're prime. Don't forget, without us, the whole world collapses. So we should have the lowest interest rate because, you know, you can talk about Switzerland, you can talk about wonderful countries, no debt, but without us, everything collapses. We should have the lowest interest rate. And if you took it down 3 points, not a little bit, but 3 points, if you got us down to 1, we would save more than $1 trillion, basically with just a paper transfer. You wouldn't be cutting costs of anything, you wouldn't be building anything. Just a move of the hand saying we're going to lower interest rates, you would save $1 trillion a year. And there's nothing you can do to save that kind of money. Well, we had a little talk about it, and I thought it was a very productive talk. He'll be able to tell you at his next meeting, but I will say that he did say the country is doing really well. And the country is really doing well.
Yep.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
How would you describe your talk with him? Did you say that the energy was tense? You know, did you come
No, I didn't think it was tense. No, I thought we had a good meeting. No, there was no tension. There was no tension. I think he had more tension with my great senator to the right. He's a pretty tough cookie. He was, you might say.
Bottom line is we had an honest, candid conversation about some of the overruns at this building. We had it in my banking committee, and he said we were wrong, and turns out we were right. Thank God President Trump and his team took enough time to dig into some of the details, and the details are clear. We need to get this project done. We would like to keep it where it is or a little lower, but at the end of the day, the point is that instead of talking about interest rates, instead of talking about first-time home buyers, instead of talking about the heat in our economy, that's a good thing, we're talking about an overrun on the Federal Reserve building as opposed to the Federal Reserve objective of lowering and keeping our economy full.
You know, as an example, they built parking spots under a building next door.
Really expensive.
That's very expensive. When you're starting to build parking lots, underground parking lots, that's a very expensive thing. A lot of people I know, they park their car and they walk a block or 2 blocks or something. But it is a very expensive thing. But that is what it is, and that's okay.
Is this project a fireable offense?
What?
Is this project a fireable offense for Jerome Powell?
Look, I would love to see it completed. I don't want to put that in this category. It's a very complex thing that could have been made simple. I built a great hotel, and the great hotel that everybody in this group knows very well, it's called the Old Post Office, and it's a much bigger project than this, and I spent $200 million building it. And it was taken down to the steel, for the most part, taken down, you know, you've seen it go up. And I built it quickly, and I built it for $200 million. That was a much bigger job than this. I spent $200 million, and it's got marble bathrooms, the top fixtures, the best of everything, all brand new. So, you know, this is a very expensive job. I don't know, it got out of control. And that happens, it's a shame.
Are you negotiating on auto tariffs? Your auto tariffs
No, I'm not negotiating on auto tariffs.
Does EU looking at 15% like Japan?
Well, it depends. What Japan did is they brought down their tariffs. They gave us $550 billion because they didn't want to pay 20. They were 28%. And they gave us $550 billion up front. 100%, 500. We get 90, they get 10. 90%, they get 10. And there's no payment. It's not a loan or anything. It's a signing bonus, I call it. But they gave us $550 billion and took down the tariffs a little bit. And then they agreed to open their economy to everybody. This was not easy. This took, you know, a lot of people walked out of rooms and things. Sometimes they walked out of rooms, went back to Japan. Right. I said, where are they? They went back to Japan, and then they called and they said, can we make a deal? They came back a couple of times. This happened. This was, as you know, it was over a period of months, and ultimately they agreed to open their economy. Now, the opening of the economy is worth more than $550 billion, the payment that they made. It's worth more. So between that and the payment, we reduced it down to 15%, but they were at about 28%, and then they bought it down, basically.
But could other countries buy it down?
Yeah, I would let other countries buy it down, sure.
Mr. President, do you feel better or worse about your relationship with Fed Chairman after this meeting?
I feel good about it. I mean, look, I have one dispute, and the dispute is there could be some things with money and, you know, where it comes from, how it's come from, how it's printed, where it's printed, all of the standard things with the Fed. But I just want to see one thing happen. Very simple. Interest rates have to come down. If the interest rates don't come down, we're knocking it out of the park with high interest rates. If interest rates come down, then that final little element kicks in, that's housing. And the sad part is that people, wonderful young people, young couples starting off, they can't get a mortgage because the rates are too high. Tim knows that better than anybody, I think.
Mr. President, if the rates are hurting families in the country, why let that keep going for another 8 months? Why not just fire them?
Because to do that is a big move, and I just don't think it's necessary. And I believe that he's going to do the right thing.
Do you have a name in mind?
I believe that the chairman is going to do the right thing. I mean, it may be a little too late, as the expression goes, but I believe he's going to do the right thing. The fact is, it's so big what's taking place in America, where the king of Saudi Arabia says you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and I thought you were dead 1 year ago. I thought we were dead. I just left NATO, as you know. They're agreeing to pay 5%. We're not paying anything. We send them the equipment. They pay for 100% of everything now for the war, Ukraine. But I just left NATO, and every one of those leaders said, every country, they said, and very smart countries, very successful countries, frankly, and every one of them said you have the hottest country in the world. We did that over a period of a year, less than a year. I mean, if you think, they say a year ago we were dead, and today, so I'm here 6 months, and we did it over, and we had the help of men like this and people like standing right behind me. They're great.
Matters.
They're great professionals. They really are. They're great professionals, and in a short period of time, we made it the hottest country in the world. With all of that being said, we'd like to see, we can always do better, and we can do better if interest rates come down. Right? Good job you do. You do a nice job. I watch you a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. President. Do you have a name in mind to replace the chairman?
I do.
Or you one person?
2 people. Maybe 3.
Any clues?
I'd pick him, but I think he's not leaving the Senate.
No, sir, I'm not.
I'd pick Tim. Thank you. No, there's no pressure. No. We want to have, his term comes up soon. I think he's going to do the right thing. Everybody knows what the right thing is. Even people that believed in, the higher rates, they're all on board. They all want to see the interest rates come down. It's very important.
Mr. President, if he doesn't do the right thing and cut interest rates, as he said, will you then consider?
I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think so.
Investigate the newly declassified documents by Amber.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing. I have great respect for Tulsi and the documents they found on President Obama, frankly. It was an Obama thing, but it was the people that worked under him also, working with him. And no, it's a very, very serious thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. President, on Doha, what was the final straw for U.S. negotiators to pull out?
Thank you very much, everybody.
Right this way. Straight to cars. You're welcome. Straight to cars. Just please watch your step. Please watch your step. Straight to cars. Yay!
Straight to cars.
Please watch your step. Straight to cars. Okay, so you stay here. Oh, okay, good.
I can go out that way.
Sure. Okay. Travel full straight.
Cindy, good to see you.
If you could stay here.
Yeah, I got it. All got it.
We got to watch the. We're gonna watch the first part. We're gonna watch the first part where he appeared with Powell, because that was really something. So let's watch that. He did say, President Trump, that he said he doesn't think it's necessary to fire Powell, and he said, I don't think we're going to fire Powell. He also said he thinks Jerome Powell will do the right thing and lower interest rates. All right, guys, I'm going to play for you right now what happened a little bit earlier when President Trump appeared with Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve. It was quite something. So let me show you that. Let me show you that. Are you ready? I'm going to replay it for you. Here's the replay of what happened 16 tools. Thank you. President has a hullabaloo. There he is. Right, he has a hard hat on. President Trump has a hard hat. That's him with Jerome Powell, by the way. There's Tim Scott. Isn't he walking with Jerome Powell? I believe that's Jerome Powell with him, but I might be wrong. Jerome Powell wearing a hard hat.
Well, thank you very much. We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening. You know, it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed. One of the reasons why we wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. We wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
Jerome Powell shaking his head.
It just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
That's Fed Chair Powell right there, shaking his head. They're arguing about this.
3.1, 3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building,
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished
Wow.
Martin 5 years ago.
It's getting
Part
spicy.
of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, does the
as
issue give you any?
As a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, gives you cause to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time, because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? The country's doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. That way they have a little bit lower tariff. And they also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility. And we get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs, and they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country, so it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it anything you want, but it's a total of $550 billion. So nobody thought any of that was possible, and it's wonderful. And we're doing pretty well with the European Union, likewise. And we have some others. They're all really big, and our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot. But we have a country that's thriving. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And we'll get this one finished.
Mr. President, do you
Thank you.
think that Jerome Powell's a numbskull?
All right.
Somebody
People
just
are
asked,
talking. Do you think that he's a numbskull? People are talking about when Trump put his hand on. Let's keep watching this. Let's go back and watch that again, because people were talking about that. Hold on, right here.
Danger.
In 2000.
Nice.
Right.
General work.
Where is it here?
Real long.
Are there things the chairman
To lower really well. I just
back
Here.
off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? The country's doing really well. All
right, so you got to see it like 5 times. You got to see it like 5 times. So you can decide what you think about it. Some of you think it was really hard. Some of you think it wasn't. You guys disagree. You guys disagree. No, we're not going to do slow motion. I could do slow motion. I don't think I'm going to do slow motion. All right, so that was... I want to take some comments from you guys, but also CNN reports that the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting is over with the Department of Defense. There were no questions about Epstein that were taken. I didn't even hear people ask questions about Epstein stuff or Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. Sarah thinks you could hear the smack, but not enough to cause a bruise or anything. Carrie and Kaylee thinks he beat him up. Chris Farrago says it's a joking, friendly pat. Red Kiwi says it jolted him. I'd say that's pretty hard. Edgar Vargas says as hard as you can go with a smack like that. Adrienne thinks it looked a bit too hard. Edward Decumsty says Trump does this a lot. 18-Wheelers thinks Trump asserted his dominance. Oh, Starlink is experiencing an outage. Some of you were commenting on this. Starlink Internet. Just really quick, I want to mention this. Starlink Internet says... Hang on a second. Starlink is currently in a network outage, and we are actively implementing a solution. We appreciate your patience. We'll share an update once this issue is resolved. That's the Elon Musk-owned satellite internet service. Okay, so Jordan thinks that he won't lower, that Powell won't lower anything. All right, so let's talk about the whole Ghislaine Maxwell thing. But CNN reported that the meeting was over. Yes, CNN reports that the meeting between the Deputy Attorney General, Ghislaine Maxwell, and her lawyer has ended. I'm not aware of any kind of statement from either side about that meeting yet. So we're going to be looking out for that. All right, hang on a moment. Hang on one moment here. By the way, thanks to Gonzalez for your support on Twitch. Real Change, thank you. Fate64, thank you on Twitch. Faith Takes You Far on Twitch. Rich Hallquist, thank you. Lerm, thank you on Twitch. Stern42. Slim Fozzie, thank you. Also, Dennis Michael Kennedy. Thank you, Dennis. And Irish Exercet. Thanks for your support as well. Brian Moreau, our viewer, thinks in the interaction it was very strange. Trump had a copy of the paper order with him. He appeared to know he would have to prove the cost increase a setup. That's what our viewer Brian Moreau says. AB Camping and Outdoors says, my Starlink is down. Collected Chaos says they are ushering in Vance. He had a meeting with Murdoch on the side. Trump has outlived his usefulness to them. I don't know who the them is that Collected Chaos is talking about. Thanks to Evolution Studios, too. All right. Maybe we should talk about the... All right, so hold on. Ghislaine Maxwell visit with DOJ reportedly over. So let's talk about that for a second. We spent some time talking about the Fed visit. That was really something. We'll show that again at some point. But let's talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell story. I'm waiting to get some more information about what they might have talked about at their meeting. Do people want to see just one more time that awkward back and forth between, I think it's safe to say it was awkward, between Trump and Powell? I don't have to show the whole thing again. But just real quick, when they were arguing over how much things cost. Again, the Trump administration has been complaining about the cost of renovations at the Federal Reserve, which have been going on for a while now. It's not a new renovation. And some believe that this is just creating a fake excuse to fire Powell, because if you're going to fire him, it would need to be for cause. So some think that. Anyways, you can see here, so I'm just going to show the start of this. I'm not going to show the whole thing again. This is where President Trump and Fed Chair Powell are at the Fed in their hard hats, and they have this disagreement about how much it's costing, right at the start of their appearance here. Jerome Powell wearing a hard hat.
Well, thank you very much. We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening. You know, it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed. One of the reasons why we wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. We wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
Jerome Powell shaking his head.
It just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
That's Fed Chair Powell right there, shaking his head. They're arguing about this.
3.1, 3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building,
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished
Wow.
Martin 5 years ago.
It's getting
Part
spicy.
of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening.
That was really something. That was something. That didn't seem planned. That was a bit spicy, wasn't it? Anyways, you don't often see something like that happen. Spicy emote? One of our viewers thinks we need a spicy emote. Maybe one day we'll get a spicy emote. Lawrence the Truth thought it was very awkward. Okay. I'd like to actually, just really quick, we're going to talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. But I would like to get a little background on the Federal Reserve thing. AP says Fed staff who declined to be identified said greater security requirements, rising materials costs, and the need to comply with historic preservation measures drove up the cost of the project, which was budgeted in 2022 at $1.9 billion. AP says plans for the renovation were first approved by the Fed's governing board in 2017. Here, hold on, I'll show you this. No, I'll just mention it. AP says that plans for the renovation, where is it here? Were first approved by the Fed's governing board in 2017. The project then wended its way through several local commissions for approval, at least one of which, the Commission for Fine Arts, included several Trump appointees. So this renovation has been going on it's been in process for years. Just so people know about this. Hold on. This was an article here from a few days ago in AP talking about the Fed. There's a photo of the Fed right there undergoing renovation. As the Fed moved forward to renovate its Great Depression-era headquarters in Washington during Trump's first terms, it faced concerns in 2020 during a vetting process involving Trump appointees who called for more white Georgia marble for the facade of the building. Anyways, the marble aside, the marble does not explain the roughly $600 million in cost overruns for the project, now budgeted to cost $2.5 billion. But the roots of its extensive use further muddles the White House's attempts to use the renovation to paint the central banker as a wasteful spender as a possible pretext to removing him. Anyways, this article argues that Trump appointees pushed more marble in Fed building renovation, White House now attacks. Anyways, that specific aside, I just wanted people to know that the renovation has been going on for years. It is not something that just started. Babel thinks he is looking for reasons to fire Powell. I know we gotta talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. That's what we need to talk about. Oh, hold on a moment. Yeah, the Washington Post said the Fed's building project isn't new and the cost overruns have been a problem for years. Oh, let me just, before we go away from this, I want to show you one other thing here. Hang on. So this was an article from about 10 days ago in the Washington Post. The Fed defends against White House attacks on headquarters renovation. So a couple weeks ago, Jerome Powell defended the Fed's large renovation project along the National Mall, which has come under attack from the Trump administration over its price tag. For weeks, President Trump and his aides have attacked the $2.5 billion project as over the top, potentially laying out a legal case aimed at the potential ouster of the central bank leader. Trump himself toyed with the idea of trying to fire Powell over it this week before pulling back, reports the Washington Post. Meanwhile, the president has pushed aggressively for lower interest rates, pressure that Powell and the Fed have largely ignored as they wait to see how Trump's trade and other policies weigh on the economy. In a 3-page letter to the White House Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought, Jerome Powell said the project was large in scope because it involves the renovation of 2 historic buildings that were first constructed in the 1930s but had not seen a comprehensive renovation since they were first constructed. Both buildings were in need of significant structural repairs and other updates to make the buildings safe, healthy, and effective places to work, he said, noting they required the removal of asbestos and lead contaminations as well as the replacement of antiquated electrical, plumbing, and other systems. The price tag for the project has swelled by roughly $700 million, up from an estimate of $1.9 billion before the pandemic, which triggered a jump in the price of steel, cement, and other materials, the Fed has said. Some of the work is underground, adding to the costs. Powell has generally defended the project and denied there are over-the-top flourishes, such as VIP dining rooms and elevators, as claimed by Trump officials. Trump has repeatedly sought to pressure Powell to lower interest rates to more easily finance U.S. borrowing costs that are set to balloon. But White House officials have more recently taken to attacking the Fed renovations after the Supreme Court signaled that the Federal Reserve Chairman can only be fired for cause, some sort of malfeasance or dereliction of duty, as opposed to a policy dispute over interest rates. So he can't be fired just over an agreement, over a disagreement about interest rates. Anyways, I just wanted to give you some background on this. We're going to talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell thing again. That was a Washington Post article. So I just wanted to try, because I know it's kind of a confusing story with the Fed renovations. And why is he over there visiting? And why are they talking about these renovations? Okay. Our viewer, Bloopy Doopy, thinks Trump is going to lean on Powell to lower rates and use Fed construction overruns as leverage. Hey, let's do a poll question before we move on to Ghislaine Maxwell visit. Poll question. So Powell's term, I believe, is up in about 8 months. Is that what it is? His term is May 15th. May 15th. About 10 months. His term runs through May 15th. So will Trump fire Powell before the end of his term? Or will he let him serve out his term? That's going to be the poll question. Will Trump fire Powell? All right, I'm posting it right now. so we can hear what you guys think about it. He said today he doesn't think it's necessary, and I don't think we'll do that. He has not given a categorical no, though. So let's see what you guys have to say. Then we'll move on to more Ghislaine Maxwell discussion. Oh, I need to pull it up, put it up on Facebook too. Jesse's girl thinks it would be too obvious. Again, there are concerns that if he fired Powell, that the world, not just U.S. investors, but investors, economists, and others around the world would think, oh, the Fed isn't independent anymore. So they might think they might not be as willing to invest in the U.S. or might or interest rates could in theory go up because investors wouldn't have as much confidence anymore in the U.S. to pay back its debts, things like that. So my point is that it could create worry about the U.S. economy if people think that the Fed is just being controlled by the president and not independent. All right. So I said, will Trump fire Powell was the question. And let's see what you guys said. All right, over on YouTube, people said 50-50 on YouTube right now. Look at that, 50-50. There's Trump and Powell right there. And, oops, I didn't have it posted on Facebook. I'm posting it on Facebook right now. If it works. On Twitch, you guys are saying, I will show you, 72% say no on Twitch. Twitch is more pessimistic about the possibility of firing Powell. Timothy Morley thinks if Trump did, the economy would crash. Mary McHugh thinks everything at this point is an Epstein Gate distraction. So Mary thinks this is meant as a distraction about... excuse me. Wow. Excuse me. Mary McHugh thinks this is meant as a distraction about a distraction from the Epstein story. Samurai Projects thinks the only reason he is dragging this out is to try to distract from the Epstein files. Remember, this visit to the Fed, this visit was announced last night that he was visiting the Fed. By the way, on Facebook, the poll is 54% no, 46% yes. All right, well, thank you for voting in our poll. We need to talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell story again. Let's talk about that. Hey, a quick thank you to Sergey is Sergey. Thanks for your support. Who thinks if Trump fires Powell, the U.S. dollar will crash since the world will lose confidence in our economic system. On the other hand, it might distract from Epstein. Thanks, Martin Gingrich. Martin says, I thought he said 3.2 billion. I'd have to go back and watch it again, Martin. Maybe we'll watch it one more time later. Thank you so much, Martin Gingrich. Thank you. We are the change. We are the change. For your support. Is this true? We are the change says since the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, the U.S. dollar has lost 96% of its value. We have been sold out. I'm not going to check that right now. That's what one of our viewers, We Are the Change, said. Thanks to Heavenly Intervention, who said awkward Trump. Thanks also Liberal Rocks for the gift memberships and Evolution Studios, one for your support. And thanks to all of you for watching. So let's get some updates on Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm looking to see if there's any kind of government comment about Ghislaine Maxwell yet. I'm not aware that there is. Let me know if you see anything. Meanwhile, here. Oops, here, right here. Justice Department meets with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's imprisoned former girlfriend. This is from AP. So this meeting has taken place today. CNN reports the meeting is over. Thank you, Sydney91, by the way. I appreciate it, Sydney91. And Mary McHugh, too. Thank you. Thanks, Sydney, for the gift memberships. The Justice Department's number two official, Todd Blanche, met today with Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein. The meeting in Florida, which Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said on Tuesday he was working to arrange, AP thinks the meeting is part of an ongoing Justice Department effort to cast itself as transparent following fierce backlash from parts of President Trump's base over an earlier refusal to release additional records in the Epstein investigation. Oh, hey, there's a new statement. Hey, look, new statement. This is a statement from Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. This is new. Miss Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability, her attorney told reporters. How about that? That's from David Oscar Marcus. That's some news. Very Casual Gaming says subpoena the interview. That's what her lawyer is saying. I want to post this actually. I'm going to read that again. Wow, that's something. Sorry, I'm just posting this. Then I'll show you that again. So Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer says in her meeting with the DOJ today, she answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all of the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. I'm just posting this because I think it's important, and then I'm going to show you the quote again. All right, so again, this is a comment. The meeting is now over, but this is a comment from her lawyer about the meeting she had today. This is her lawyer right there, David Oscar Marcus. Hey, is there any video of that? I don't know that I had video available of that news conference. I guess there was a news conference. Oh, what's this? Oh, there's going to be possible statements at the White House coming up from people who were at the Fed. All right, hold on. I got to keep an eye on that too. Possible statements coming up at the White House. Maybe by the OMB director who was at the Federal Reserve with Trump. So I'll keep an eye on that too. But here is the statement right here. So again, the Justice Department's #2 official met today with Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned former girlfriend of financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And her lawyers said Miss Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all of the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. Are we going to get to hear this interview? Are we going to get a transcript of the interview? Are we going to get selections from the interview? What are we going to hear about this interview? Really Cold thinks she's a questionable witness. Marcus said his team was thankful that the Deputy Attorney General came to question Maxwell, calling it a good day. Asked if his client could potentially receive a pardon or see his prison time reduced, Marcus said there's no promises yet, so she's just answering questions for now. Let me read that again. Asked if his client, Ghislaine Maxwell, could potentially receive a pardon or see her prison term reduced, her lawyer said there's no promises yet. She's just answering questions for now. It says here the House Committee on Oversight issued a subpoena on Wednesday for Maxwell to testify before committee officials in August. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence and is housed at a low-security federal prison in Tallahassee, Florida. She was sentenced 3 years ago after being convicted of helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. Officials have said Epstein killed himself in his New York jail cell while awaiting trial in 2019, but his case has generated endless attention and conspiracy theories because of his and Maxwell's links to famous people, including royals, presidents, and billionaires. Well, also, there are accusers of his who claim, for example, Virginia Giuffre, who's no longer alive anymore, sadly. She claimed, if I have this right, that she had been basically told to have sexual relations with Prince Andrew by Jeffrey Epstein. There are accusers of Jeffrey Epstein who claim that when he told girls to have sexual relations with other people. The Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that Attorney General Bondi told Trump in May that his name was among high-profile people mentioned in government files of Epstein, though the mention does not imply wrongdoing. All right, let me read some comments from you guys. Peg says, oh no, no pardon for her. Lethal Old Fart says, careful, I'm not sure she named names. I have no idea what she said today. I believe she did not testify in her trial when she had her trial. Because you might say, well, didn't she get asked questions in court? Yes, sex trafficking trial from the Wikipedia article about her. Maxwell chose not to testify, telling the judge, Your Honor, the government has not proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt, so there's no need for me to testify. So she did not testify in her trial. She also had a perjury trial. Maxwell faces a second trial for perjury on 2 charges that she lied under oath during a civil suit in 2015 about Epstein's abuse of underage girls. What's going on with that? I have no idea. There's a Forbes article that says that she was never tried or convicted of perjury. Did the perjury charges actually get dropped in a part of a deal? I'm not even sure. Anyways. By the way, this is a press release that the DOJ put out back in 2020. Ghislaine Maxwell charged in Manhattan federal court for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. Back in 2020, the DOJ said that the indictment unsealed today alleges that in or about 1994 through 1997, Maxwell and co-conspirator Jeffrey Epstein exploited girls as young as 14, including by enticing them to travel and transporting them for the purpose of engaging in illegal sex acts. As alleged, knowing that Epstein had a preference for young girls, Maxwell played a critical role in the grooming and abuse of minor victims that took place in locations in New York, Florida, and New Mexico. In addition, she made several false statements in sworn depositions in 2016. This was a 2020 press release by the Department of Justice. A little more of this press release from back in 2020 from the Department of Justice. As alleged, Maxwell enticed and groomed minor girls to be abused in multiple ways. For example, Maxwell attempted to befriend certain victims by asking them about their lives, taking them to the movies, or taking them on shopping trips, and encouraging their interactions with Epstein. Maxwell also acclimated victims to Epstein's conduct simply by being present for victim interactions with Epstein, which put victims at ease by providing the assurance and comfort of an adult woman who seemingly approved of Epstein's behavior. Additionally, to make victims feel indebted to Epstein, Maxwell would encourage victims to accept offers of financial assistance from Epstein, including offers to pay for travel or educational expenses. Maxwell also normalized and facilitated sexual abuse by discussing sexual topics with victims, encouraging them to massage Epstein and undressing in front of a victim. As Maxwell and Epstein intended, says the Department of Justice in 2020, these grooming behaviors left minor victims vulnerable and susceptible to sexual abuse by Epstein. Maxwell was then present for certain sexual encounters between minor victims and Epstein, such as interactions where a minor victim was undressed, and ultimately Maxwell was present for sex acts perpetrated by Epstein on minor victims. That abuse included sexualized massages, during which a minor victim was fully or partially nude, as well as group sexualized massages of Epstein involving a minor victim where Maxwell was present. Again, I'm sorry for the nature of what we're talking about, but this is a Department of Justice public press release from 2020, just to give you an idea of what they accused her with. And she ultimately was convicted of several crimes, and she is doing 20 years in prison. So again, she met with Todd Blanche today, the number 2 at the Justice Department. And her lawyer said she answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all of the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. Her lawyer called it a good day, asked if his client could potentially receive a pardon or see her prison term reduced. Her lawyer said there's no promises yet, so she's just answering questions for now. Zelgeth says there should be no talks of a pardon. So, are we going to... All right, so they've had the meeting. They had this meeting. Her lawyer says she answered everything. So are we going to hear about what she said? What do you guys think? I want to hear your comments on this. Is there going to be some press release about what he said? Is the DOJ going to say she said X, Y, and Z? Is Trump going to say she said something? What are we going to hear about? A bunch of people think no. Really? You think that the DOJ, that Trump's number 2 in the Justice Department did this meeting and then we're just never going to hear anything about it? The Etienne says, we want the recording. Nurk Yi thinks we're going to get a doctored version at best. Dreaming in Color thinks we're going to hear a snippet. Merck says depends on what she said. Also, some out there think that she could just lie and she could just give the questioner what the questioner wants because she's trying to get out of jail earlier. I don't know what's happened. I can't say that that's what happened, but I've heard some speculate that she would have a motivation to just say whatever she thinks the questioner wants her to say. Dean R. says, was she under oath? That's an interesting question. I don't know. TJ Dams thinks that's what happened, that she's going to tell them what they want to hear. Tina Navarra thinks no public release because if his name is involved, it will be covered up. J.K. Frosty says whatever she says has to be provable. She can't just say random blank. You know what? I kind of feel like, given all of the coverage that the Epstein story has been getting, I don't think that this meeting maybe is getting enough coverage. This is a huge deal. They had this meeting today. She is, I mean, if you like watch documentaries and you read about Epstein, she was his partner. She was, according to women who was accusers, according to multiple women who accused him of sexually abusing them when they were underage. They say that she was the partner, that she was the facilitator, that she played an enormous role in this whole scheme. So, and that she was there for some of the abuse. So, I mean, it's a big deal that she met with the number 2 in the Justice Department, who used to be Trump's personal lawyer, I believe, Todd Blanche. And now her lawyer is saying after the meeting that she answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and the best of her ability. Now, she could have said, I don't know every time. It doesn't sound like, from what the lawyer said, that's what she said. But, I mean, this is not, I don't know how much the average person knows about the Epstein story. This is not some random side character, some tangential figure in the Epstein saga. She was the partner. Some call her a girlfriend. You can see former girlfriend, but she was with him for years and years. And multiple accusers say she was the main person working with him. The co-conspirators, say some of our viewers. So this is not some random side character in the whole Epstein saga. Procent Gifts thinks there's something very wrong with the situation. My Mind Spray thinks it's his top groomer. Yeah, there are accusers who say that she recruited them. Ariane says partner in crime. So, this is a big deal. In terms of the Epstein story, this is, to me, is a huge deal. Eric the Viking thinks the DOJ visiting her absolutely stinks. So I haven't heard any kind of statement from the government yet on this. Oh, hold on. I got a lot. There's stuff going on at the White House. Hold on. There's some speakers at the White House right now. Let me put that on the screen for you. Hang on a moment here. Hang on. I'm sorry. If I can get it on the screen, I can replay it too. But a live show. Russ Vaught is speaking at the White House. Hang on. Hang on a moment. Let's go live to the White House if I can. Oh, do I have to? I need 2 seconds here. Again, I can play you the replay too. But no, it should be live. Wait a moment. There's some speakers at the White House right now. Okay, here it is. Let's go to the White House. Let's go to the White House. Are they talking about the Fed visit? That's Russ Vaught of the OMB. He was at the Fed visit.
To interest rates. That's what's important. It's on the National Mall. It needs to get done as soon as possible, and we can't have this situation where this is hanging over the country's head.
Is there all concerns that the president would have the power to fire a venture if he chose to, or is that unclear?
I think the president every day almost at this point answers that he's not really thinking about that right now. I mean, how many press conferences this week has that question been posed to the president?
Has been that the administration was reviewing it, looking at its legal options.
Again, no, I think he's a builder. He cares about the cost. The costs have gotten out of control. And then separately, the president runs Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. In his first term, people were able to buy a mortgage for 3%. These days, after Biden's inflation and what happened with rates, now you're looking at 7% mortgages. So this is of great concern to the president, but I view them very differently as two different things. You can't help be a builder and be the president of the United States and see these cost overruns and not ask a bunch of questions.
Is the president trying to pressure Chair Powell to lower interest rates? Is that what this is about? I mean, he stood right next to him and said, I think rates should be lower. At the same moment, you guys are there investigating the Fed. Is this a pressure campaign?
Again, can answer it the same way many different times. The president has a policy view about lower interest rates that, as Bill said, is vitally important to the country economically and for the pocketbooks of the American people. And he is a builder that looks at largesse and just automatically starts to think about what he would do in that situation. I think the Fed learned a lot today based on those conversations. We certainly learned a lot, and it's going to inform the questions that we're going to continue to ask to get to the bottom of it.
What did you see today that surprised you? What did you see today that surprised you? What did you see today that surprised you? What did you see today that surprised you?
I think the extent to which, the degree to which they had to build down into the basement and really essentially jack the entire building up to do some of these things. I mean, remember, this was a building that was renovated between 1999 and over a 3 or 4 year period. So the notion that it's never seen any kind of renovation since the 1930s. There's more to that story, and so that's still in. They're still at the very beginnings of that renovation. So this is a long way to go, but that's what I was most surprised.
Go ahead, right here.
Thank you so much. Given the concerns are on the cost here, and that is exactly what y'all have been talking about, what the president's been talking about, who is responsible for giving the president accurate information about what the cost is? Because Fed Chair Jay Powell was correcting them on live.
No, he wasn't. What the president pulled out of his pocket. No, the president pulled out of his pocket a page from the FOIA request of the Fed's own internal documents that is available on their website.
So
it's available for
their. You're saying he's wrong?
No. What the president is saying is the entire construction project that's going on, which is a build and renovation project over the last number of years, is currently at $3.1 billion. And what the Fed chair was saying was, no, you have to take one of the buildings out of it. Well, no, it's all one project on the whole complex.
Why do you disagree with that? If the building was already done and it's not part of what your issues are right now?
I don't know what you're saying. If you go back and look, and the president's looked at the forums, they're right there. You can see every single year. They put out the FOIAs for every single year. And every single year, the numbers have gone up for this project.
What number of years?
So you're saying that the number Jay Powell gave was wrong and the one the president had is accurate in your assessment?
I think what the Fed chair is doing is splitting hairs in that moment to try to drive down the top line costs for what we're talking about.
Sir, and yes, we believe our numbers are accurate.
Go ahead.
They're their numbers. Again, the president was citing their numbers from their forms that they have published.
That was a document you FOIA, just to be clear.
We did not FOIA it. It's available right now on the Fed's website.
Okay. So James,
Go ahead, right here.
Saying that you want to see this project sped up and go faster. What are the specific actions you intend to take next? Does that mean you're not going to halt the project? Who will have the ultimate decision over the next steps?
The president said that, we are where we are. The project has to be done now. It'd be nice if they don't have more cost overruns, but, the building's got a long way to go, and at this point, it's just kind of got to get done.
This building's got a long way to go. It's got a long way to go.
You're saying that concerns about interest rates and the cost of this renovation are two separate things, but are you concerned about the message it sends to markets to have the president visiting the Fed, something that hasn't happened in 20 years, and publicly saying on television, lower interest rates, that this erodes the independence?
No, I think the market should like it. You have a president who's engaged, he's a builder, and he also understands interest rates. Remember, building and construction is also very much tied to interest rates. This is a president who understands interest rates better than any president before. He's crushed inflation. In his first term, we had 3% mortgages. Now we have 7% mortgages. Costs have doubled. People can't afford mortgages because of the last 4 years under Biden. And so we need to get these rates down. We can get rates down, and that would have a booming effect on the housing market and the mortgage market.
And as for the market reaction, this is not a new concept. This is a very public discussion. The market continues to go up. The revenue of the country continues to go up. There was a budget surplus last month of $28 billion. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, the president announced a huge trade deal with Japan. Let's stop speaking in hypotheticals. Let's just look at what's happening. This conversation is being had in public. The market is reacting every day. The market is going up. The job numbers are improving. Every economic indicator is going in the right direction. And if we can just look back to last year, go back to last summer, every Democrat that's now silent was calling for the interest rates to be lowered. Every single one of them. Now they're completely silent, now that President Trump is in office. But 1 year ago, they said the rates are too high, and they were calling for it all the way leading up until the election. The economy is markedly better now than it was then. So our question would be, where are the Democrats on this? Mortgage rates are too high. Credit card interest rates are too high. All loan rates are too high. They felt that way a year ago. Everything is better now. Why don't they feel that way today? It doesn't make any sense.
The Democrats own the high rates, and they own the mortgage rates, and them not coming out and saying we need lower mortgage rates when the data says otherwise, it's crazy.
The president spoke about this development. Last year, a principal economist from the Federal Reserve, he told an undercover reporter that Jerome Powell, quote, wants to be remembered in history for a part of the Trump administration. This includes by not lowering the interest rates. Does that sound accurate?
This is a policy debate that we're having with the Federal Reserve. The president's put out his viewpoints very clearly. He's done that. He's never been shy about doing that. And I think the American people who are struggling in the mortgage that they're in right now or wanting to have their first home appreciate their leader in this town, in this country, articulating many of the things that they wish would occur. And that's a policy debate, and we're just going to keep it there.
The president has been pretty clear that he wants interest rates lower, but will he perhaps recommend any changes to the project as a real estate developer? He's touched on that a little bit today, both in his True Social post about how he renovated the post office and on camera. Will he recommend any changes today?
We're at the beginning of this. We sent my letter up to the Fed. We don't necessarily accept all of the responses that were in there. The National Capital Planning Commission, I won't speak for, but they are looking at this as well. And we want to continue. This is our first site visit. We want to get to the bottom of what we can learn from it and how to do it better. And we're going to continue to ask questions, and we won't get ahead of anything else.
Shifting gears just a bit, there's some estimates floating around that the renovations at Alcatraz could cost $2 billion. Is that something that you believe is fiscally responsible and that the administration should move forward with?
We're at the very beginning of the planning process. We had two of our cabinet members out visiting the site, and we're at the beginning of this process. But you guys always kind of ask these types of questions, and my response is always, we have priorities as an administration that we believe are important to spend money on, and we can do cheaply, and we will do it as efficiently as possible. And that process really hasn't gotten going. Our office hasn't been able to really get a handle yet on those costs yet, but we'll be able to pay for it, and it's an important investment for the country, and we're excited to do it and get that thing done.
Director, on the rate cuts, the Fed has projected rate cuts this year, but the president wants to see substantially larger rate cuts. What is the case for a 300 basis rate cut?
Well, if you look at the inflation for the last 3 months, you look at the run rate for the last 3 months, it's 1.6, 1.5%. The Fed fund rate is at 4.5%. So if you lower it by 3%, you're really matching where the run rate of inflation is with where the Fed funds rate is. So it's just math. And that's what's so ironic about this is that, the Fed has always said we're data-driven, we're data-driven. This is the data, and it's hurting real people. It's hurting people with car loans, mortgage loans, you name it.
And it's hurting the country. It's costing taxpayers. We're transferring enormous amounts of money out of the pockets of taxpayers because of the higher interest rates to pay interest on the debt. The president talks about that every single day.
The last vote was unanimous. Is he objecting to the entire Fed board right now?
Once again, this time last year, everybody was calling for rate cuts on all sides of the aisle, Democrats included. The economy has gotten better. And I'd pose the same question in reverse. What is the argument for keeping the rates where they are? There's a very ambiguous argument. Well, we're not really sure with tariffs. Well, I don't know how you're not sure with tariffs. The president talks about it every single day. The plan is very transparent, and what the president predicted would happen with tariffs is happening. Money's coming into the country. Prices are not going up. Inflation is not going up. We ran a surplus last month. It's just it's a very arbitrary argument, I think, in our view, that they've been making to keep rates where they are.
Last question.
You've been focused on this particular project with the Federal Reserve, but it costs more in the United States to build infrastructure more than any other comparable nation in the country, in the world. Are you looking into a system-wide problem, or is this just a one project look?
We always can. We're very interested in infrastructure. The president's always been an infrastructure president. Those policy processes like NEPA reform are always a part of our deregulatory agenda and priorities. There is something unique about this project and some of the decisions that were made that has caused a kind of a different level, heightened level of concern that we're going to keep asking questions about. And I only expect that to continue. But thanks, guys. As on what?
On changing the way that the federal government spends money to build things?
We're always in working in conjunction with Congress. They just passed one big, beautiful bill, all sorts of things that allow us to have cheaper energy, better tax regime. Our view right now with this project is that there are things that can certainly be done better. And we still want to get to the bottom of unanswered questions that we have. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
James, can I just ask?
All right, hang on one moment. I want to show you that. That was some live shot of Trump officials at the White House talking about the Fed and continuing to say they want lower interest rates. So I just want, we watched President Trump visit the Fed earlier today and talk about how he wanted lower interest rates and talk about how he said they were spending too much money on their renovations. So I wanted to show you that live. Hey, I just saw another update about the, we were talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting with DOJ today. Ghislaine Maxwell meeting with DOJ reportedly over. where she met with the number 2 Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein associate and partner, I guess, as the criminal allegations go, facilitator, and I believe convicted. She was convicted of assisting Jeffrey Epstein with in behavior that resulted in sexual crimes against underage women. So she was meeting with the number 2 in the DOJ today, Todd Blanche. So I just saw an update about it. He has 20 years in jail. Hold on, let me just look at this update here. The Washington Post had an update. Washington Post says DOJ has productive meeting with Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. She was convicted in connection with the Epstein sex trafficking case. So the Washington Post says Jeffrey Epstein's imprisoned former associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, met with a top Justice Department official for nearly 5 hours. The meeting was nearly 5 hours. Today's meeting between Ghislaine Maxwell and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche lasted for almost 5 hours. That's from the Washington Post. That's according to her attorney. I hadn't heard that before. So again, her attorney said that the meeting lasted for almost 5 hours. Let me see what else I have for you on that. Hold on one second here. The Washington Post says the meeting in downtown Tallahassee, not far from the low-security federal prison where Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking, comes as the Trump administration is trying to mitigate to lessen the political fallout over its handling of the case. Maxwell's attorney, David Oscar Marcus, declined to tell reporters afterward what Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche asked Maxwell or how she answered. He took a full day and asked a lot of questions, Marcus said. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. Blanche said this week that he sought a meeting with Maxwell to discuss anyone else, quote, who has committed crimes against victims. Again, remember, that was what Todd Blanche said, the Deputy Attorney General. He did say, you can see it right here. Oops, sorry, let me just stop that volume. He said justice demands courage. For the first time, the Department of Justice is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, what do you know? He says no one is above the law and no lead is off limits. Well, what do you know? Did he say anything more about it? Yes, he also said, if Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has convicted crimes against victims, the FBI and DOJ will hear what she has to say. He did say in the recent thorough review of the files maintained by the FBI in the Epstein case, no evidence was uncovered that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. He said there's nothing in their files. That's what the DOJ and FBI said too. There's nothing in the files that would predicate, could be the basis of an investigation into uncharged third parties. But he's saying, if Ghislaine Maxwell knows something about anybody who has committed crimes against victims, we want to hear it. So presumably he was asking about that. I don't know. But according to the Washington Post, according to her lawyer, as mentioned by the Washington Post, the meeting took close to 5 hours. Close to 5 hours. The Post also mentions Ghislaine Maxwell has petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court to hear her appeal of her conviction. The Justice Department, which prosecuted her, has pushed back, submitting a filing last week urging the justices to reject her request and leave her conviction intact. Epstein and Maxwell were charged with sex trafficking and other crimes in 2019 and 2020. Maxwell was convicted in 2021 and is serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison in Florida. Epstein was found dead in his jail cell while awaiting trial. His death was ruled a suicide. Stephen Elder, our viewer, thinks she will rat out all the Democrats involved. The Go-Go-Fo thinks Trump would pardon her if she gave them the information. Joe Buckeye said the meeting had a 2-hour lunch. I don't know how long lunch was, but my guess is I don't know. Maybe they had even if it was a 2-hour lunch. I mean, he said the meeting lasted close to 5 hours. So I'm going to take that as the actual meeting. Mirage Dub says, show us the files. So, given that the meeting lasted nearly 5 hours, and she answered all the questions that were asked, I mean, I assume lots of people out there would love to know what was asked and answered at that meeting. I have no idea if we're going to get some sort of announcement by it from the administration. How about poll question? Will the administration release some of the meeting contents? How can I say this? Some of meeting transcript? How about that? Will administration release some of meeting transcript? Basically, some of the questions and answers from the meeting. That's what I'm going to ask you guys. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking they're going to go to all the trouble to do this and not say anything about the meeting. Hold on. Let me post this on Facebook as well. Tone 360 Dialect thinks Maxwell has been waiting for this day. She knew it was coming. Dennis Michael Kennedy says depends on if it's prosecutable. The Sumi Sue thinks maybe, but nothing the public wants to hear. All right, let me show you what you guys said. I said to you, oh, that's not what I want to show you. I want to show you this headline here. I said to you guys, will the administration release any of the transcript of this meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, over on YouTube, here is the vote. 61% said no so far, and 39% said yes. More no than yes. So far on Facebook, it's 100% yes. Fewer votes on Facebook though. And on Twitch, the current result is 70% say no. Dakota's Timeout says, I want it all released. If he has dirt, if she has dirt on Trump, she has it on all of them. I think you mean she. Thank you, Dakota's Timeout, for writing it. Hey, thanks to Jean-Paul Lachance for the gift memberships, by the way. Oops. Jean-Paul Lachance, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Also, I owe thanks to a couple other people here. Thank you to Mitchell Pilot for your support. Thank you to We Are the Change, who says Epstein saga could bring down governments. Thank you, Shackled Text. Excuse me. Shackled Text thinks America's about to see some of the most horrific crimes get swept right under the rug. Mitchell Pilot says some people want the president to be negatively implicated in this so badly, but guess what? You can't take him down, sorry. Thanks, Wyatt Beats, for your support. Oh, did Trump post on his Truth Social after the meeting? All right, hold on a second. I haven't even looked. Thanks to We Are the Change, by the way. Oh, he posted about the Fed visit. Here's what, all right, so thanks for voting. Let me just say thanks for voting in our poll. The majority of you think that the administration will not release any of the meeting transcript. Hang on here. Let me show you what Trump had to say about the Fed meeting. Here, look, it's his post on Truth Social. Some of meeting transcripts. How about that? Trump said, it was a great honor to tour the renovation and some new construction at the Federal Reserve Building with Chairman Jerome Powell, Senator Tim Scott, and others. It's got a long way to go. Would have been much better if it were never started, but it is what it is, and hopefully it will be finished ASAP. The cost overruns are substantial, but on the positive side, our country is doing very well and can afford just about anything, even the cost of this building. I'll be watching and hopefully adding some expertise. As everyone knows, I renovated the old post office on Pennsylvania Avenue, and it was a roaring success. The total construction cost was a small fraction of the Fed building's cost, and it was many times the size. With all of that being said, let's just get it finished, and even more importantly, lower interest rates. Thank you to Old Man Gibb for your support, who says, Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell? Old Man Gibb says, call her what she is. She was his procurement officer, pimp, recruiter. The woman is pure evil. That's what Old Man Gibb says. Thank you, Mr. Pharaohbot, by the way, who says, why is it that financial records related to other large cases such as El Chapo are far more transparent than the Epstein case? Yeah, thank you, Allison Hargroves. I do not have access, I don't believe, in terms of what I have the rights to the lawyer's statement. If I had it, I would show it. Thank you so much, Allison Hargroves. Thank you also, Medium Sean. Thank you, Medium Sean. I appreciate it. Also, thank you to Jim Bomb TV for watching over there on Twitch. Doug Midori, who I follow, who is an expert on the internet, says that Starlink traffic is starting to be restored. Oh, thanks to Shaft for the gift memberships too. That's really nice of you, Shaft. Thank you. I was hoping maybe we would get some sort of statement from the government. I'm sure we will eventually, but I have not seen a statement from any government official after the reportedly close to 5-hour meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Justin Woodward says the victims deserve justice. The whole Epstein saga is rules for thee, but not for me. That's what Justin said. Our viewer, Dan Lampkin, oh, by the way, regarding the Fed meeting, our viewer, Dan Lampkin, said Trump directed Powell to stand beside him, then he verbally assaulted him in public, then he physically hit him hard enough to move the man's body. You Americans better step up. That's a comment from our viewer, Dan Lampkin. We'll watch that one more time before we wrap up here today. Our viewer, Karen Moore, says, Trump keeps saying there's no story. How can you keep her in jail if nothing happened? He has to get her out or the evidence in her trail makes that argument void. He's stuck. Matthew Felty says Blanche ain't going to say anything until after congressional deposition on August 11th. I saw reported that she was subpoenaed. I don't know that she's actually going to speak in Congress, though. Chairman Comer subpoenas Ghislaine Maxwell for a deposition at federal prison. House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform Chairman James Comer yesterday issued a subpoena to Ghislaine Maxwell for a deposition on August 11th at the prison in Tallahassee. Comer said the facts and circumstances surrounding both your and Mr. Epstein's cases have received immense public interest and scrutiny. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, he said our committee and the task force on the declassification of federal secrets on February 11th sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice requesting a briefing regarding documents in the department's possession regarding the investigation into and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein, a.k.a. the Epstein files. On May 8th, the task force sent another letter to the department requesting the public release of the entirety of the Epstein files and a briefing regarding the release of these files. He said, while the Justice Department undertakes efforts to uncover and publicly disclose additional information related to your and Mr. Epstein's cases, it is imperative that Congress conduct oversight of the federal government's enforcement of sex trafficking laws generally, and specifically its handling of the investigation of and prosecution of you and Mr. Epstein. In particular, the committee seeks your testimony to inform the consideration of potential legislative solutions to improve federal efforts to combat sex trafficking and reform the use of non-prosecution agreements and or plea agreements in sex crime investigations. Anyways, I don't know that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to agree to testify and comply with that subpoena. I'm not a legal expert, but I don't know that she's actually going to do it. Oh, CNN wrote yesterday that her lawyer said that her meeting with the Justice Department today would determine how she responds to the congressional subpoena. So I don't know that she's going to give a statement to that congressional committee and answer questions from them. We'll see. By the way, quick thanks to Rita, who says, is there an actual transcript or just DOJ notes? I would assume, well, I don't know. I cannot say for sure whether the DOJ recorded the meeting today and whether if they recorded it, they could make a transcript. I can't say for sure. I would think they would, but I don't know. I don't know for sure if they recorded the meeting today and if there's an actual transcript. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Ricos. Ricos, our viewer, claims there's breaking news on X that the DOJ is hinting at Obama and other leaders implicated by Maxwell. Announcement expected tonight. Well, no source that I follow is saying that. I have to say I'd be pretty shocked if the White House came out and announced that Ghislaine Maxwell implicated Obama. I don't know for sure what's going to happen. I'd be pretty shocked, though. So we'll see. But thank you, Rakos. Thank you, Madam Miss 11 as well. Thank you, Shameless Senpai, who says, I'd love for her to drop all the names. Thank you again, Jean Paul LaChance, for the gift memberships. Thank you, Northwoods Hiker, for being a member. But I am expecting some sort of statement about the meeting from somebody in the government. By the way, regarding Trump's visit to the Fed today, where he was walking around with Jerome Powell, our viewer Talent Showcase Radio said, I believe Trump will call for an audit and could prove fraud, waste, and abuse once he follows the money trail. Powell had a worried look on his face. We're going to show that again in a second. Thanks for writing in. I was hoping that during the broadcast we would get to read you a comment from the government about this meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Let me search something here. Hold on. Yeah, we'll definitely show that one more time. Yeah, her lawyer didn't say today what exact, specifics about what they talked about. Let's see. Let's just see if I can get you any other updates about that. And Annette Zaleski, our viewer, thinks the whole meeting seems wrong. She points out how the president was close to Epstein. Well, he was friends with him. I mean, that's true, but, you know, they stopped, as President Trump says that they stopped hanging out years ago, and I believe that's that there's not documentation of them hanging out in recent years. And they had they actually had a disagreement. I believe from what I read, they had a disagreement. They were both bidding, I think, for the same property. And around then is when they stopped being social, I believe, from what I've seen. But yeah, just to be clear, I mean, just because they were friends doesn't mean that President Trump was involved in activities that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in. And the same for other people that he was friends with. He was friends with a lot of prominent people, Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of them. Rita said they had a falling out over real estate. Yeah, so like the New York Times said in 2004 they were competing over a piece of real estate. And the New York Times says there's little public record of them interacting after that, which was in 2004. By the way, thanks to Robert Rial II for subscribing on Facebook. Also, Kay Larry Body, Margaret Riley, Shannon Davis Hughes, Sharon Klassen Goslin, Diane Allworth, all of our subscribers over there. Chuck Mosca. Thanks, Chuck, for subscribing over there. Louisa Knight. Louisa thinks that if Trump was mentioned, they will not release any of the transcript of the meeting. I think that's what she's talking about. But again, they could release some of the parts of the meeting. But maybe you think if they talk, maybe you think that if they release some parts of the Maxwell meeting but not others, it'll seem suspicious. LT, thanks for subscribing. LT thinks that Trump won't pardon her now, but maybe when his term is over. Robert Rial thinks he could very well pardon her on his way out of office if she agrees to say he never had anything to do with any of it. Robert says, which no one's going to fall for. Paula Thompson thinks Trump may promise her a pardon. Paisley Alexis Jones says, maybe Trump shouldn't have said anything about the files being released during his campaign and none of this would be an issue. Just trying to read some more of the comments that people have written in. Sentient Cannabis says, say exactly this and we'll reduce your sentence. Deal. All right, well, maybe we'll one more time show you what happened when President Trump went to the Fed to visit. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. Universal Lover says, if Trump pardons a convicted pedo, it's over for him. Look, I mean, if that ever happened, that would be an enormous deal. It would be just a huge, huge deal, given what she has been convicted of. I haven't heard any reporting that that's going to happen, but it would be an enormous deal. TC King Saren thinks it's 100% coming. BKDDY says full pardon for her soon. Should we do a poll on it before we show the? Should we do a poll on it before we show the? Just show you one more time the Powell thing. We'll do a flash poll and then we'll show the Powell thing one more time. Flash poll. Quickly. All right, I'm posting it right now. For those of you who like polls, you're happy because I think we're doing 3 polls today. All right, this will be a quick one though. Okay, I asked you guys, will Trump pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? Doesn't have to be now, at some point, which would be an enormous deal. YouTube, you're basically split. 53% say no, 47% say yes. And let me show you what I'm seeing over on Twitch right now. You guys are pretty divided on this and pretty close. 51% say yes on Twitch, 50-50 on Twitch. It's close to 50-50 on YouTube. Monica Barnes thinks he doesn't dare. He could also, well, there's pardoning and then there's different varieties of this. There's reducing the sentence, but not a pardon. I don't want to get into all of that now, but you get the general idea. Eddie C. thinks it's an edge of your seat moment in history. I guess some people on Facebook are not seeing the poll. Sometimes this happens on Facebook where the poll just like stops working. It's supposed to be open on Facebook. I'm sorry it's not open there on Facebook. It says it's open. If you're not seeing it, Facebook sometimes messes up and doesn't show it. So I'm sorry. What would Trump gain by pardoning her? Well, I understand the question, but maybe the Trump administration is going to release something about what she said in her meeting. I don't know. It's a fair, I understand the question though. All right, we're wrapping up the poll. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the plan. Let's take one more look at what happened with Jerome Powell and President Trump today, because that was really interesting when Trump visited, and we'll do one last check after that as to whether there's any kind of administration comment about the meeting today. So that's the plan. That is the plan. I'm going to show you this now. If you didn't see it, it was quite something. Has it downloaded here yet? Let's see. It's supposed to. All right, here we go. I have it. I have it right here. I have it right here. Okay, great. Here it is. Why isn't it? Let's see. Why is it not downloading right? This is so weird. Hang on a moment. Oh, here it is. It's right. I have the right clip. I have the clip for you. Perfect. Perfect. I have the clip. The raw clip from Reuters. Here it is. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Are you guys ready to see what happened when President Trump showed up at the Fed? I am putting it on the screen for you right now. All right, there it is. And then here is earlier, the Federal Reserve, Washington, D.C. Here we go.
Well, thank you very much. We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening. You know, it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and
Yes,
you're
sir.
in charge of the committee.
Indeed, one of the reasons why we wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. We wanted to figure out why.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just
That's
added.
our entire capital plan.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building,
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, does the issue give you any? As a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, gives you cause to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So.
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you? The country is doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. That way they have a little bit lower tariff. And they also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility. And we get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs, and they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country. So it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it anything you want, but it's it's a total of $550 billion. So nobody thought any of that was possible, and it's wonderful. And we're doing pretty well with the European Union, likewise, and we have some others. They're all really big, and our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot, but we have a country that's thriving. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we'll get this one finished.
Mr. President, do you
Thank you.
think that Jerome Powell's a numbskull?
The question she asked right there was, the question the reporter asked as they were walking away is, Mr. President, do you still think Jerome Powell is a numbskull? Which he called him earlier in the week. Not to his face, though. I don't believe. Anyways, all right. So I wanted to show you guys that. Let me do one last check and just make sure. I'm not aware that we have any kind of statement from the government yet about the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting that her lawyer said was about 5 hours today with the number 2 at the Justice Department. I haven't seen it yet. So I assume at some point we will have some comment about this. Anybody else aware of one? I don't think Todd Blanche has said anything about it, or Trump, or Pam Bondi. Tom Blanche, I see nothing. He has not released a statement that I've seen. Bondi. We did a stream about Cambodia, Thailand last night. If there's big developments tonight, maybe we'll cover it again. We did a stream early this morning, actually. Rita thinks Blanche has to brief Trump before any kind of public statements are made. That I understand. That makes sense. Lord Maniac says, we don't want to comment. We want her to testify before the Congress. Douthis says 5 hours of interview and sadly nothing credible to release. All right. Well, look, I think at this point, really quick, I want to thank, by the way, to Fred Witherow. Thanks so much, Fred, for your support. I appreciate it. So I think we have reached, and thanks to Edu Makashan for your support on Twitch. I think we've reached that point where, well, I have to thank, hold on. Thank you to Wantan8888. Who says, we don't know the questions that were asked in the meeting could be all aimed at certain people while not asking about certain other people, then answers truthfully, wink, wink. Thanks, Wanton8888. And Jean Paul, a chance for the gift memberships. That's so nice of you. Jean Paul, thank you for more gift memberships. So kind of you. Thanks, Joe96111. Again, the interview was done by number 2 at the Justice Department, Todd Blanche. Dan Bongino's at FBI, not DOJ. Oh, I owe a thanks to Ruben Peters as well, who thinks there's basically no good outcome on the case. Any releasable documents are now so vetted and altered, there is no point. And thank you, Dennis Michael Kennedy, as well. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, look, I don't really have any updates on the story for you right now. I'm very interested in seeing, I would anticipate at some point that the government, the Trump administration, will say something about what they heard from Ghislaine Maxwell today in this meeting that lasted almost 5 hours, according to her lawyer, and in which she answered all the questions, according to her lawyer. So we'll have to see what happens. Okay. Oh, hold on one second here. Lola P says, I hope we get to see her answers. All right. So I really appreciate you guys joining me for our double coverage today of both Trump's visit to the Fed and the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting with DOJ. And we will certainly keep an eye on these and other stories. And if there's big news later tonight and some other story, we'll cover that as well. But I really appreciate people being here. This is Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda. So subscribe and follow Agenda Free TV if you want. And I would suggest turn on the notifications, because I never know when big news is going to happen. There could be big news 5 minutes after this stream. We have a notifications system, which is free. And it allows you to, hold on a second, to sign up for free and then get a notification whenever we go live. And it really works well. It's on Discord. We do it through Discord. So the mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat. But sign up for the notifications so you don't miss a stream. But I really appreciate people watching the channel, watching our broadcast today. A lot of you have sent in comments. It was nice to have some time to read a bunch of comments today. And thanks for sending me updates that you're seeing. And who knows, maybe we'll hear something more about what happened in this meeting. Jason Santoro thinks Trump technically assaulted Powell with that backslap. All right. Hey, I will post updates about these and other stories on my X account. That is where I post news updates when I'm not on the air and when I'm on the air too sometimes. At Lookner on X, at Lookner. You can follow me over there for breaking news updates. So follow me over there if you want. Hey, huge thanks to our moderators. Let's give it up to our mods. Give it up for our mods. They are awesome. They're fantastic. They are the ones keeping things under control in the chat. So huge shout out to our moderators. Keeping things respectful there, like Roberts May Queen and Beth Mythical. Thank you over there. And all of our other YouTube moderators who've been there, thank you. And also on Facebook, moderators like Kay Lowry Body and Margaret Riley and Shannon Davis Hughes. Thank you so much for modding. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X, on Twitch. Big Ball of Yarn, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, Sarah, and all of our other Twitch moderators. Huge thanks to all of our moderators. Thank you so much for all you do. And hey, thanks to everybody who donated. So nice of you. It's so kind of you guys. That's what allows this channel to exist, is your support. So I really appreciate your support. I owe a thanks to Bradley Lohr for becoming a member. Or from being a member for 6 months. Thank you, Bradley. Thanks, Barker J. Rohr, for subscribing on Twitch. Thanks for your support. If you ever want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But huge thanks to you guys for supporting the channel. Thanks so much. Let's see here. Also, another good way to find out when we're live, for those on X, follow us on X. Oops. At Agenda Free TV. I always post there when we're live at Agenda Free TV. And I post updates about the channel there too. We do have a chat, by the way, where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air. It's free. It's on Discord, our Discord chat. Check it out. The same link as the link to sign up for the free notifications. Oh, did I mention the notifications link? We'll post it in the chat again. But also, you can find the link to the free notifications in the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook. You can find the link there too. So you can check out you can sign up for the notifications and check out the chat at the same link. And huge thanks to our Discord mods for all you do as well. For those who watch on YouTube, I would suggest turning on the YouTube notifications as a great way to, if you're on YouTube, find out when we're live. But it's a little tricky if you want to do that, to figure out how to do it. So if you want to turn on the YouTube notifications, you got to subscribe to the channel. And then once you're subscribed to the channel, you click the bell, you activate the bell, and you click all notifications. So again, subscribe, then activate the bell, and then choose all notifications. That's how you turn on the YouTube notifications. And let me shout out our Twitch subscribers for all your support. Thank you. People like Aquatic Wallaby, Artful Nothing, Golden Tarkus, Wall Street and Shaggy, Bala Sparkle, thanks for subscribing, Fate64, Matthew Kohai 3, Jax Haku, CC143, thanks for subscribing. Thanks Hokies Alum for subscribing and being a subscriber. Chi-Town Bear, thanks for subscribing. Huge shout out to all of our subscribers over there on Twitch. Sentient Cannabis as well. Also our Facebook subscribers. You guys are awesome. Robert Real II, Chuck Mosca, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Shannon Davis Hughes. Thank you so much. And Paul Anderson was modding too. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, thank you, Robert Real II, for subscribing. Diane Allworth, Sharon Klassen Goslin, Erin Van S, LT, and all of our other subscribers there. And our YouTube members, thanks so much. People like Some Dude, JK Cinar, Joe Hart, UV Lightning, Lola P, Civlab, Cup of Noodles, Cup 007 Noodles, Waltham Mass, Justin King, Jay from the Lake, Stup 1, Jay David, William Cromer, Jean-Paul LeChance, Beam Me Up, Alice B, Sydney 91, Xylee, Wickedest Witched, Shawnee Ann, thanks to all of our other viewers as well. Very much appreciated. All right, we're going to start wrapping this up. Thanks, Melissa Terry, for watching. Lori Nance, thanks for watching. Christy Claft, thanks for watching. Billy Anderson, Joanne Grodwall, Bart Cobain, Chips29, Good to Think. All right, we are going to wrap this up. Doing one last check, but if there's more big news tonight, we can come on again. I'm sorry we didn't get any comment yet from the administration about the meeting today with Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm sure we'll get something at some point. I think we'll get something at some point. All right, guys. Oh, by the way, Lux Day, thanks Lux, mentioned that NetBlock said that connectivity has been restored on Starlink. Yes, so according to NetBlocks, connectivity has been restored on Starlink. Thanks for mentioning that. All right. That is it for now. Thank you so much for joining our stream today, and more coverage soon of whatever comes up news-wise. But we might have more coverage certainly of the Ghislaine Maxwell story as that develops. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.